Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and today is episode 660. I hope you're well. I hope you're good. I hope you're ready to learn. Today we're talking about how we can program our unconscious mind to be confident, to be more self-certain in any endeavor. That is my goal. That is my plan for you. There's why I do. Getting all these free episodes out is because I want to try to support you. And today I thought I'd make it a little bit interesting by kind of trying to tap into what I did to get confident. Because if you're kind of new to me, you may know or may not know that I used to be so shy as a child. I wouldn't talk to my grandparents. If I were to, it'd be like yes and no. At school, although I was kind of confident with my close friends, but beyond that, public speaking, being like a center of attention, I would be so self-conscious. I would be thinking about what are people going to think of me? Is my voice going to like kind of crackle and break? Am I going to blush? And then the anxiety and the dread would just grow, and to the point that even thinking about going to school, I would just not want to go. Like I used to go to school with like taking a bike trip. So it's like a 30-minute to get to school, just going on our bikes. And I usually go with one of my friends. And if, for example, he said that, look, I can't meet you this morning because I'm sick, I'd be like, I can't go to school either. I'm too dreading the experience. And I don't know why, because honestly, like everything was fine. Like I didn't get bullied. I was kind of, I like to think, liked in most of the areas of the school. But for some reason, a part of me felt like I didn't like that situation, and that carried through. That carried through to my GCSEs. So that'd be like, I don't know, less SATs maybe in America, like 16 years old. And it caused me to really not do very well. I'll be upfront and honest. Out of like the 12 or so, 10, 12, kind of subjects, or the amount that you get, because some would double, I only got 6 C's. Only 6 C's. That's how bad I was. I mean, it might be, I'm sure there's many other people who got worse, but 6 C's, and a couple of those, I got like a C in art, I got a C in physical education, because I was like good at football or soccer in American sports. So it really had a big impact, like my learning, because I didn't have the confidence with myself. And then I went to work. My dad thankfully found a way of getting me a job. Oh, actually before that, I dropped out of college into business school. How crazy is that? I run a business, a pretty successful one, hopefully making an impact. And I dropped out of business. So my confidence was a big level of that. I really disliked learning because I wasn't confident in my own ability. Then I went to get a job, and it was only for a year or so, but I would be so anxious. Like Sundays, I'd be like, oh my goodness, it's Sunday. I don't want to go to work. Like I'd be dreading it. And when Wednesday came, I was like halfway through the week, hopefully I'm almost there to a Friday. So throughout the first 18 years of my life, I was just filled with dread of thinking that I'd be found out, that I'd be an imposter. And back then, I don't think imposter syndrome ever existed. But if you're not aware, it's where we feel like we're not worthy to be where we are. We don't feel good enough. We feel like we're going to get found out for being a fraud. Even if you're successful, you could be like a manager or high profile, but you're like, they're going to one day find out I should not be here. I'm not worthy to be in this position. So I experienced that throughout the majority of my life. Like I've been free of my issue for 20 years, but I had my issue for 18 years. So I had it for a long time, and many of you may have had this for far longer. But the key here is, if I can let it go, and if I've helped many people let go of the anxiety and worries and doubts over the last 2 decades, then you can let it go as well. You have the ability to do so. And I try to break things down simply, Because everything we do is an internal strategy. It's our interaction between the external world and the internal world. You see, based on how you respond to the external situation will dictate your behavior. If you have the belief system of the imposter syndrome, you're going to have those anxious thoughts and worries and doubts. And you're going to go, well, I'm not capable, I'm not able, so your capacity, your ability to respond is going to be reduced. Then, of course, if your ability to react in the way that you like to and instead react in an anxious way, a fearful way, a doubtful way, a lack of confident way, then the results, the behavior, your actions and reactions are going to have a huge, profound effect. Your results aren't going to be that good. And guess what happens next? Well, those results it's literally feedback. The results that you're getting right now is feeding back to your unconscious mind to reaffirm, well, this is why I should be anxious. This is why I'm not good enough. This is why I feel like an imposter. You see, that feedback loop is critical. But it's a strategy, it's a response to the external world. Now, how did I get that? How did it start to formulate within me? And I'll be honest, I don't really know. Like, I think I came out the womb shy. I do. I was probably like, oh my goodness, all these people, I don't like this. And I was probably blushing as a baby, for all I know. But there were certain events throughout my life which reinforced the shyness. From a young age, going all the way up to 18 years old. And those events, that feedback loop, will reaffirm that experience. So the good news is here, if I didn't know the root cause, the first event, and let it go, then you don't have to know as well. So don't feel like, oh, I've got to analyze. I've got to like really talk it out. I got to think about it. I got to remember. Why can't I remember the first events, why this happened? Don't worry about it. It's not about when it happened. It's about how you do it right now. And how can you interrupt that pattern that once you interrupt will change that feedback mechanism where you're not bound by your past. You're not dictating your future based on your past experience, but you're actually liberated to a new reality. Because the world is a subjective viewpoint. Right now, you are seeing the world subjectively based on that past data that you've experienced. We need to break free of that cycle. Now, think about this. If that paradigm of a belief system, an identity of being unconfident, creates the capacity to be reduced, in other words, your capacity to act and react, and therefore get that feedback, if we flip that model for a moment, we flip it around, and we come from a starting place of, do you know what? I'm not an imposter. I deserve to be here. I'm worthy. I'm good enough. I'm capable. That's how I feel right now. Like, I can speak on stage and, like, I'm sure thousands. I've done 1,000, so I don't see why not. And I enjoy it. I can be live, which, by the way, if you listen to this podcast, this is being broadcasted live on YouTube and so on. And I enjoy it. I don't get nervous. There's something like, this is my opportunity to hopefully shine and help people. So if we had that starting point of that paradigm of, do you know what? I am enough. I'm worthy. I'm not an imposter. I deserve to be here. It's my right. It's my birthright to show up and live in this domain and for me to own it. Own how I feel. Own how I act and react. Now my capacity is greatly expanded, which means my repertoire of how I act and react is also multiplied and expanded in the most beautiful, wonderful way. So my actions are now for me, and then what happens? Well, the results I get are always going to be good. Like, even the ones which don't work out, I'm going to learn from it. I don't see it as a failure. I'm just going to learn what not to do. I'm going to learn how to get better. I'm going to just grow. If I sucked at something, I'm going to suck less. Each and every day, I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow from it. That's all it is. And therefore, that feedback, the good events or just the learnings from the so-called failure, now becomes the feedback loop of my new identity that I am more than worthy, that I'm more than good enough, that I'm not an imposter. There's my right to be here. So simply changing that core identity was the game changer for me. You see, in the beginning part of my life, when I started to wake up that I used to think that this was normal to be anxious. I thought, this is who I am. I'm going to have to live with this for the rest of my life. I'm going to be imprisoned to that self-doubt. I'm going to be imprisoned to that lack of esteem and confidence. That was my reality. But when I woke up to the subjective reality that this is actually not something that I like, but also that it doesn't have to stay the same, I woke up, I took responsibility to do something about it. Now, in the beginning of trying to let go of my issue, I did many different things, homeopathic things, especially like for the blushing and thinking about it, analyzing it, and it didn't work. So I was trying to focus on the anxiety. Didn't work. I was focusing on the self-talk. Didn't work. Did I get better at times? Did it work sometimes? Yeah, but sometimes it will come crushing and rushing back into my neurology. So I was like, not again. I thought I let this go. Where it be for a moment, a week, a day, it all came rushing back. And that is when I had an epiphany. I had an epiphany that is not how you change. You see, most people will focus on what they feel the most, in other words, what they experience the most. So if you are having a lack of confidence, what do you feel? Really think about it. What kind of emotions do you feel when you have a lack of confidence? Well, you might go, well, I feel anxious. I feel overwhelmed. I feel doubt. I feel dread. Okay, so most people will then try to work on that feeling. How can I manage the feeling of anxiety? How can I diminish that dread? How can I work on that esteem, that feeling of a lack of confidence, to get confidence? But it's like spinning all these plates because they're all happening at once. Whether you know it or not, it is all happening at once. And if we're just working on one thing and our attention is on, okay, I'm going to work on the dread today, suddenly the anxiety is popping up around the corner. And you're like, oh no, my self-talk's here now as well. And then you switch your attention to the self-talk, and then suddenly, guess what? The lack of confidence comes back. The anxiety comes back. So it's not about spinning the plates. It's not about working at one thing at a time. Imagine if you had to work on just one of the symptoms of what you feel the most, and in order to let go of everything, you had to work on one at a time. Maybe it'll take you a week. And who am I kidding? It'll probably take us months to just even work on anxiety, to get some form of result. Like if we're just doing self-work, we're just thinking about anxiety, and let's just say it takes a few months just to get that gone for a while. Now I've got to focus on the dread. Okay, I'm going to spend the next couple of months on the dread. Okay, let's just say hopefully it goes away. Then you're going to work on the confidence. A few months, then you got to look on the self-talk. Then you got to think about, well, how do I act in this specific situation? Like before you know it, you are months and most probably years or decades away to getting anything under control. Because when you really think about it, what you feel the most is not the problem. Is it good to know? 100%. Because what you feel the most is data. It is data that you've got to understand and analyze where that is coming from. How can that emotion of a negative emotion of, say, anger or sadness or fear or regret. You ever felt regret because you just feel like you missed out on opportunities? All that anxiety, all the worry and doubt, that is data everywhere. That's like little data points. You've got one level of all this level of internal data. Then you've got the external level of the data of the trigger. So when I see my boss, I start to question my own ability. Like, I'm gonna start to feel nervous. When I think about my goal and dream, I feel scarcity. I feel doubt. When I think about money, I feel scarcity. I feel this dread. I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm never gonna get it. So you begin to look for the external data points, which are the symptoms, what you feel the most, internal and external, based on your reaction. But that's not the problem. You see, I realized, and it took me so much time to figure this out, that once I found and isolated the root cause of all my pain, of all my anxiety, all my worry, all my doubt, all my dread, all my self-talk, all my blushing, all my self-consciousness. I almost, in my mind, I may even did this physically, I wrote down all the symptoms. And I was like, oh my goodness, I experienced so much, but that data can mean something to me. So I went on a journey to figure out what can be the one thing, rather like walking on the everything and never getting anywhere, or getting some momentum, getting some traction, and then suddenly it all coming back. What are the common elements and components that if I could discover and then resolve that one thing, will just let go of all the things? That is what I want you to think about, because that is what I did. Now, of course, we're all unique. You've gone through different things from me, from other people, from the neighbor down the road, from our pets, from our colleagues, for the person on the other side of the world. Look, we all have different makeups of our personal history. So it's hard for me to say, look, for everyone right now listening to this, or whoever's on the live stream listening and watching this, this is your root cause. This is the one thing you got to work on. It's impossible for me to do that. Like, I have to say, I've been doing this for, like I said, 2 decades, but I can get it usually close to it within like 25, 30 minutes. And then see if I can solve it for the person. That's what my business is, right? Like, we figure out if we can find what the block is to then solve it for you. But of course, I can't do that on a mass level. So this is you making a decision, becoming conscious of your unconscious processes, the process that you are running beneath the surface. That's what we've got to do. We've got to really understand that, look, what's happening here is a simple form of strategies of the internal world, the external world, and how I interact with it. And I don't want to be focusing and working on all these symptoms. I'm going to use that data. Like, if I can imagine in my mind like a mind map or a spider diagram, you got all these external circles and bubbles of all the symptoms. Somewhere along the line, right in the middle, there's going to be a root cause. And by root cause, it could be a huge event, could be very small. Like I said, I don't remember the events. I remember certain big ones, but it wasn't even about any trauma. Like, when I work with my clients, I don't want to hear, like, personally, like, I love people who love talk therapy, because I know I can't do talk therapy. I just want to be able to let it go right here, right now, like very, very quickly. That's just how I work. I don't want to get involved in the weeds of trauma. I want to be the best example of trying to let all of that go without even diving into that or experiencing it ever again. So I see it in my mind of like, well, if I can isolate that root cause right in the middle there of all these symptoms and then just pluck it out, think about this. Our unconscious mind is only ever running this system, this strategy, this set of behaviors, running these symptoms, all the things that we feel. It is only running it. Despite how horrible it is horrible, right, to feel anxious. I can't be the only one waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my goodness, I can't take on the rest of the next day coming up. or dreading that meeting, or dreading going into that situation where you've got to speak. Like, it is a horrible thing. It's like an experience we just do not want to feel. But despite how bad it is on the surface, despite how bad it is as a consequence, in other words, the outcome of what we feel the most, deep down within you, your unconscious mind thinks it's doing a great job. It thinks life there is perfect. This anxiety, let's keep doing that. That's what it is. Our unconscious mind thinks whatever it's doing right now, from chronic phobias to things which are psychosomatic, like if they are like psychosomatic around physical, like sometimes, like when I work with people in the past, like chronic fatigue, all of that stuff, from lots of these different levels. I believe your unconscious mind is trying to do all of that, run all that pain for you because it thinks intentionally. So think about not behavior, but think about intention. The intention behind it is always trying to protect you. You see, your unconscious mind acquired this strategy, acquired this system, acquired this pain and these reactions and the self-sabotage of not achieving your goals and your dreams, or the sabotage of your career or your business. Like, on the surface, it is horrible, but your unconscious mind thinks it's doing a good job. It thinks that it's protecting you. You see, if you experience enough anxiety, you won't go into that potential dangerous situation. If you experience so much dread, you won't leave your comfort zone. So your unconscious mind's first response is to do whatever it can to take you out of that situation. But here's the problem. The real problem is this. You don't want to get out of that situation. I mean, of course, when you feel those feelings, you want to get out. But the fact that we keep on going to that situation shows to me you want to be able to be there, just without the symptoms, without the anxiety, without the doubt, without all this pain within our emotional body, our physical body, our psychological body. We want to be able to be where we want to be, go and live that dream, hit that financial abundance, get that career going, have a crazy cool, successful business, to have the most beautiful and wonderful, deep connected relationships with ourselves. If we have children, to be the example of a role model, of someone of confidence. Like, we want to be in those situations, but your unconscious mind is pulling you back. Like, I was saying this the other day to someone, that the problem is you want that success. If you didn't want that success, if you didn't want to get that promotion, if you didn't want to increase your business, you wouldn't do so. Therefore, you don't need the anxiety. But the fact that we put ourselves into that domain, into that environment, over and over again, shows that we want to be there, that there are goals and dreams that we would like to acquire, that we would like to receive. But if our unconscious mind is pulling us back, we feel more divided. We're divided and more conflicted now, because we're pulling in this direction, saying, look, I want to go forward and get my goal. But in this direction, our unconscious mind, and for those on audio, I'm using my hands left and right. I should have said that in the beginning. We are being pulled back. Therefore, the conflicted body and mind is more conflicted. If it wasn't an issue for you, you wouldn't feel that internal conflict. But we feel separated, we feel disconnected from our true potentiality. That is so important to get. So 2 levels here. I had a few in the beginning. As always, look, number 1, assume responsibility. No one could have done this change for me. Like, did I get help along the way? Yes. You need help along the way. It is very hard to solve this by yourself. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you need help. You know it. Like, wouldn't it be nice just someone just do it with you? Just let it go? Of course it would. So, number 1, assume responsibility, that yes, you can have people assist you, but you've got to take responsibility to start instigating change, waking up from this unconscious process, which is where we've been sedated by our life, sedated by the experience, and wake up and go, look, actually, I want more. I want that money, I want that abundance so I can support people in my life, so I can have security, so I can help charities. I want that promotion, I want X, Y, Z, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to make the change. I was saying the other day to someone that you've got to decide over the fear. This fear that we're experiencing is what we experience for the most of humanity. We make most of our decisions. It is not a scientific study. There's just my interpretation. That most of the decisions we make are based on not wanting the negative thing to happen. So in other words, we are fear-based, deciding that we must decide based on what we feel of the symptoms and the fear. Well, in times of change, you got to decide on what is right. You got to decide on what you really want. Decide on what is for your future. To decide on where you're heading. That is what we really got to do. We've got to get into the awakening of, do you know what? I am going to decide that I want more out of life. I'm going to assume responsibility for who I am. I'm going to take responsibility for where I'm heading. I'm going to take responsibility on going on this journey. Now, once I assumed responsibility, I then had that awakening, which I'm trying to impress upon you, that the things that you feel the most are not the issue. The things that you experience as that reaction is not the issue. That is why we've had this problem for years. Otherwise, you'd have changed by now, right? Because you know what you feel. There's most probably, I'm not going to say for everyone, but it's not going to be your first time of working on yourself. You may have seen many people in the past, many therapists, other hypnotists, other coaches, or whatever it is. We've done lots of things along the way. So if that is the case, the chances are we haven't found the root cause, because we are focusing on what we feel the most. And it's not what you feel the most is the issue. It's about what's behind that. Those feelings, that anxiety, the worry, and the dread, the fear, and all those things are simply feedback. It is a signal for you to pay attention. If you break your arm and you did not have pain, the chances are you would damage that arm so much more because it doesn't feel any pain. Yet your body is so good at giving you the signals of pain that you have to rest up, that you've not got to use that arm. You've got to put a cast or a brace around it. You've got to look after it. So that pain is a feedback to look after yourself. Well, just like that pain, the emotion, the anxiety, the worries, and the doubts that we feel are going to have to be the things that we want to work upon the most. That we have to figure out, look, these symptoms are leading me to the root. And as I said, it's hard to get out of your own way, so find someone who can support you with this. I wish I could be in every single room around the world, which is pretty tricky, to be able to get that for you. But we've had different makeups, we've had different experiences, different histories. So that is why sometimes we've got to get out our own way. You can talk about it until you're blue in the face. You may know it inside out and at a conscious level, but you got to find what the unconscious level is. What is the root of all that pain? That's what I discovered. That was my epiphany. It saves you time, it saves you money, it saves you a lifetime of pain of just working on your symptoms instead. Find the root cause. And then also realize that, look, your body's been doing this because it thinks it's protecting you. The intention is trying to keep you safe. The intention of that panic, of that fear, of that anxiety, of that worry is trying to get you out of that situation. But you do not want to get out. You want to go where you want to go. And that creates a bigger conflict. And then the other part is, look, we don't want to be hating upon the unconscious mind. Because when you start to be so, and I call these like meta feelings. So a feeling about a feeling. Two couple of levels. It could be I'm anxious about becoming anxious. I'm angry that I am fearful. in this situation. I'm angry at myself that I cannot achieve my dream because I'm angry at that fear. I'm angry at that anxiety. Because when you're angry or you're anxious about being anxious, you're telling your unconscious mind to guess what? Do and feel more of the same. So you've got to rein back in the unconscious mind. We've got to be able to figure out this system of ours has protected you. This passed down through the generations has protected you. It's allowed you to be safe. It's allowed you to survive to this moment. And if it's allowed you and the generations before you, that look, all it's done is made a mistake. And it could be after one event, significant events, many multiple events, a build-up of small events, whatever it is, somewhere along the line, your unconscious mind decided something. It decided that this was the best reaction for you. Otherwise, it would have chose something different. It would have done a different behavior. And think about it as well. I don't know about you, but like I said, I feel like I was shy forever. Like as soon as I came out of the womb. So maybe we didn't have the necessary wisdom to articulate a different behavior or to create a different reaction. So our unconscious mind did what it could at the time, under stress, without knowledge. And that created the habit. That created the identity complex, the conflict and the complex. That is going to be getting in our way. So I managed to get the unleashed confidence. Like I said, I feel really confident. And I've had this for like once or twice a year. And I look back and go, oh my goodness, I haven't felt not good enough for years, decades. And how grateful I am to be here by doing that work, by understanding and integrating and interrupting that pattern, by getting the help that I needed to change that. Because having another, like if I stayed the same, and I wouldn't be here speaking in front of you right now, but having another 20 years of that hurt, and then to this point, and then thinking I've got another 20, 30, 40, 50 years of it left, that is my wake-up call. That is my time to go, look, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to do what has to be done. So assume that responsibility. Realize that the symptoms are leading you to the cause. So don't work on the symptoms. Get the help that is needed to discover that, to recognize it. For when you do, that is where you can start the reprogramming. That is when you start to find the processes to liberate you from that weight that is in our body. That is where you actually let go of the resistance getting in your dreams. Because that's all it is resistance. It's creating that conflict. So when you release the resistance, you are deeply aligned in any endeavor to any goal and dream. And you go, I'm capable. I deserve to be here. I'm worthy of being here. That goal is coming my way. That's how I feel. I'm ready to receive without resistance. And when I receive, it reaffirms the next thing that is coming my way in a good way. But if it's the other way around, the anxiety is actually creating more of the anxiety, creating more events, looking out for more of the same. So have that as a wake-up call. Do whatever it takes to find that root cause. Now, of course, if you are a professional and you or have a business maybe, but you're a professional, you're invested and you're ready and you want my help and my team's help in a fully customized way, tailored to your unconscious mind, go to josephclough.info/talk and we'll get clear. We'll book a call with us. You'll fill out an application. We'll get clear on what you're going through, what you want to let go of, what you exactly want to achieve. Come up with a plan. If we can serve you, we'll say, look, this is the program, this is the investment, and we'll let go all within 8 weeks. Over and over again, that is what we do. josephclough.info/talk. Make your dreams a reality. But like I said, you've got to be invested, you've got to be professional, you've got to go all in. You've got to match my enthusiasm. You got to be resourceful. You got to be decided and dedicated For when we're more dedicated to the solution, we are no longer dedicated to staying the same. Now, of course, if you're not ready for that, or if you're not at that level yet to really be invested, or maybe I just don't solve the issue that you're experiencing, you can also go to our app. And that's freehypnosis.app. And then you can listen to all the free audios on there. There's episode 660. Look, I do this because I want to help people. That is why I've created over 600 or 660 free episodes. Within the app, you can also listen to a ton of hypnosis sessions. You can unlock the whole app right now for a one-time amount. You can listen to sessions in the day. You can listen to them as you go to sleep. Transform as you sleep. You can create custom tracks. And of course, if you're getting value from this episode, if it's kind of caused you a bit of an urge to do something, to make a change, if it's kind of just makes you realize, look, there is an opportunity there, then absolutely, please go ahead and leave a review. It just means we can help more people in this world. That is what I want to do. That's my mission. We're almost at 12 million downloads, just the podcast. We're going to hit that in a couple of months, I think. And I just want to be able to help as many people as possible. So with that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future one. Many thanks and goodbye.